Several of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have insinuated that your friendship with Donald Trump is a problem. My colleagues on my side of the aisle have leaned into this, kind of exposing the hypocrisy, given what we have seen before from previous administrations. And I would just like to read something to you from 1961. Washington, January 13th. The Senate Judiciary Committee approved without objection today President-elect John F. Kennedy's selection of his brother, Robert, as Attorney General. The vote came after a 2-hour hearing. Would you like a 2-hour hearing, by the way?
Can we redo this?
Yeah, that's right. The vote came after a 2-hour hearing devoted in large part to the praise of Mr. Kennedy. Forecasts that there would be several critical questionings, especially from Republicans, proved incorrect. All 14 committee members present voted to approve the nomination when it was formally made. The New York Times. As it said, blood is thicker than water, meaning family bonds are stronger than any other relationship.
This may look like a partisan exchange or a routine Senate confrontation, but it's actually a stress test for integrity in American oversight. What's really being tested here is whether accountability is a principle or a political tactic, and whether institutions uphold the law consistently or only when it benefits their narrative. This raises broader questions about credibility, selective outrage, and the stability of democratic trust when standards shift depending on who holds power. In this video, we'll break down how this hearing reveals contradictions inside our justice and oversight systems, why selective enforcement threatens democratic legitimacy, and what must change if Americans are expected to trust their institutions again.
Several of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have insinuated that your friendship with Donald Trump is a problem. My colleagues on my side of the aisle have leaned into this, kind of exposing the hypocrisy, given what we have seen before from previous administrations. And I would just like to read something to you from 1961. Washington, January 13th. The Senate Judiciary Committee approved without objection today President-elect John F. Kennedy's selection of his brother, Robert, as Attorney General. The vote came after a 2-hour hearing. Would you like a 2-hour hearing, by the way?
Can we redo this?
Yeah, that's right. The vote came after a 2-hour hearing devoted in large part to the praise of Mr. Kennedy. Forecasts that there would be several critical questionings, especially from Republicans, proved incorrect. All 14 committee members present voted to approve the nomination when it was formally made. The New York Times. As it said, blood is thicker than water, meaning family bonds are stronger than any other relationship.
What we're really witnessing here isn't just rhetorical sparring, it's a test of consistency. If political loyalty and personal proximity to power were acceptable in past administrations, then suddenly redefining them as disqualifying now raises serious credibility questions. What's being challenged is whether oversight is motivated by principle or weaponized as a partisan tool. And that matters, because the legitimacy of congressional scrutiny depends entirely on whether the standards are stable, fair, and applied universally. And
I just think that that needs to be before the American people once again, and I appreciate you continuing to reiterate that you will serve the people of this great country and that you will follow the law.
Thank you, Senator.
I'd like to move to something that has become another theme of this hearing, and that is Senator Grassley's letters. So I myself sent a letter to our current Attorney General and unfortunately received the very same treatment. So in front of this committee, Merrick Garland, Attorney General Garland, had made a testimony that we found evidence to possibly contradict what he had said. On March 23rd, he came in front of the Appropriations Committee, where I was a member, and I presented him with evidence that the DOJ had actively discouraged the enforcement of 18 United States Code Section 1507 at the homes of Supreme Court justices in the wake of the leak of the Dobbs decision. Evidence that appeared that he had clearly either misled or misinformed this committee. Evidence that showed that the department was putting...
This is bigger than frustration. When officials testify one way publicly and the evidence later suggests something else entirely, it doesn't just undermine one agency. It erodes public trust in the entire enforcement structure. What's on trial here is whether institutions prioritize honesty over politics. And if they don't, it signals a dangerous normalization of evasiveness at the highest levels of government.
Politics above duty. Section 1507, as you well know, makes it illegal to picket or parade near a judge's residence with the intent of influencing them in the discharge of their duty. It was openly and flagrantly violated on numerous occasions in the summer of 2022, yet never enforced by U.S. Marshals stationed at the home of the justices, in large part because of the evidence that we showed that they had been actively discouraged from making arrest. When we asked Attorney General Garland why no one had been prosecuted, he said because no one had been arrested. Really going back to the fact that the U.S. Marshals in these slides were actively discouraged from making them. On May 3rd, 2023, I led a group of senators, many on this committee, sending a letter to the Attorney General asking him for a response to 19 questions by the end of May. And to this day, I have yet to receive any actual response to any of my questions. To Senator Grassley's second point,
This moment underscores a core constitutional question. Does the law apply evenly or only when politically convenient? When enforcement decisions are influenced by optics rather than obligation, it transforms justice from a standard into a strategy. And if selective enforcement becomes acceptable, democratic fairness ceases to exist in practice.
do get a response, which mine came almost a year late. It was just words on paper. And so what I'd like to know from you is two things. One, if confirmed, will you do everything in your power to have yourself or one of your top officials respond in a timely manner to those of us on this committee? And second, since I am almost out of time, will you commit to working to help me get answers about why this happened in the Department of Justice so that we can ensure that it never happens again?
Yes, Senator, and it sounds like we're going to have to open an entire unit to handle Senator Grassley's letters
Good.
to respond to them.
That's what we all like to hear.
Senator Booker.
Thank you, and I'm grateful to Senator Britt for bringing that up. It's probably
Here, the conversation pivots from criticism to responsibility. This isn't about outrage, it's about restoring expectations. Government institutions must answer, not eventually, not selectively, but consistently. Because transparency isn't a courtesy, it's the foundation that allows the public to believe the system still works. This hearing wasn't just about one nomination, one department, or one political figure. It exposed something deeper: how easily accountability can bend when political convenience takes priority. When institutions refuse transparency, ignore their own standards, or selectively decide when the law applies, they don't just fail politically, they fail the nation they exist to serve. Democracies don't collapse overnight. They weaken when trust is slowly replaced with doubt. The stakes aren't partisan, they're constitutional. And the only sustainable path forward is equal standards, honest answers, and genuine accountability. Support institutional integrity, demand transparency, and subscribe to Liberty Report USA.